Hello everybody, welcome to the 1965 Formula World Cup. Now going into this World Cup, Richie Ginther is the defending champion. However, the United Kingdom have won the Nations competition for the third year in a row. Can they make it 4 in a row? Can Richie Ginther defend his title? Without further ado, let's meet this season's teams. So here are our teams. We've got the United Kingdom as team number 1 with Jim Clark, Graham Hill, Jackie Stewart and John Surtees. The United States is team number 2 with defending drivers champion of Richie Ginther, Mario Andretti, AJ Foyt and Dan Gurney. Italy are team number 3 with Lorenzo Bandini, Neil Vassarella, Roberto Bussanello and Giancarlo Baghetti. And the 4th and final team is South Africa with Pierre de Klerk, Tony Maggs, Trevor Blodgett and Doug Surer. Now I would like to show you the other teams competing, but unfortunately these are the only 4 teams we've got for this season's Formula World Cup. I don't know why, but 1965, when we go through the selection process, these were the only 4 teams that could form a team with. So no France, no any other country we've had so far, or any new countries. It sucks, but unfortunately that's just the reality of it. But I'm hoping we will still have a very exciting World Cup despite the fact we've only got 4 teams. And here are our group lineups, with Group A having John Surtees, Richie Ginther, Roberto Bussanello and Tony Maggs. So a very feisty group lineup in Group A. Group B with Giancarlo Baghetti, Dan Gurney and Graham Hill. That's another feisty lineup indeed. Group C with Mario Andretti, Lorenzo Bandini, Trevor Blodgett and Jackie Stewart. Very strong lineup there indeed. And Group D with Jim Clark, AJ Foyt and Neil Vassarella with Pierre de Klerk on the team. Jim Clark and AJ Foyt, well, that's going to be an interesting showdown between those two for sure. So there are 4 groups, and without further ado, let's go swiftly over to Group A. And here we go, is Group A of the 1965 Formula World Cup. Without further ado, let's just get straight to the first race of this group. First race, we go with South Africa at Prince George, and John Surtees wins for the United Kingdom, Roberto Bussanello is second for Italy, Richie Ginther is third, and Tony Maggs is bottom of the board in 4th. Going over to race number 2, we head to the 2,000 kilometers of Daytona. Tony Maggs wins for South Africa, with Roberto Bussanello is second for Italy, John Surtees is third for the United Kingdom, and Richie Ginther finishes in last place. Going over to race number 3, we go to the 12 hours of Sebring. John Surtees takes another win with Roberto Bussanello second for Italy, Richie Ginther third for the United States, and Tony Maggs rounds off the positions in 4th. And to the first quarter of Group A, we go to the 1,000 kilometers of Monza. Tony Maggs wins for South Africa, Richie Ginther second for the United States, third is Roberto Bussanello of Italy, and John Surtees is bottom of the board in 4th. So 4 races in, leading the way it is John Surtees with 79 points, Tony Maggs and Bussanello have 76 points each, with Richie Ginther bottom of the board with 65 points. Going to race number 5. We go to the Tourist Trophy at Oulton Park. John Surtees wins for the United Kingdom, Tony Maggs is second for South Africa, Richie Ginther is third for the United States, and Roberto Bussanello rounds off the board in 4th. Race number 6, we go to the Targa Florio, and it's another win for John Surtees. Tony Maggs takes second for South Africa, Roberto Bussanello is third, and Richie Ginther is bottom of the board in 4th. Race number 7, we go to the 500 kilometers of Spa-Francorchamps. Richie Ginther wins for the United States, Tony Maggs is second for South Africa, Roberto Bussanello is third for Italy, and John Surtees is bottom of the board in 4th. As for the first half of Group A, we go to the 1,000 kilometers of the Nürburgring. Roberto Bussanello gets his first win for Italy, with Richie Ginther second for the United States, Tony Maggs is third for South Africa, and John Surtees is bottom of the board in 4th. Halfway into Group A and leading the way it is John Surtees with 155 points, which is 3 more than Tony Maggs is second for South Africa. Third is Roberto Bussanello with 146 points. Richie Ginther is bottom of the board with 139 points. Going to race number 9, we go to Monaco. John Surtees wins with Roberto Bussanello second, Tony Maggs is third, and Richie Ginther is bottom of the board. Race number 10, we go to the Indy 500, and Richie Ginther takes the win with Roberto Bussanello second for Italy. Third is Tony Maggs of South Africa, and John Surtees is bottom of the board in 4th. Race number 11, we go to Belgium. John Surtees wins yet again with Richie Ginther in second, Roberto Bussanello third, and Tony Maggs is bottom of the board for South Africa. And to round the third quarter of Group A, we go to the 24 hours of Le Mans. John Surtees wins with Roberto Bussanello second for Italy, Tony Maggs is third for South Africa, Richie Ginther is bottom of the board in 4th. With 4 races left to go, leading the way, it is still John Surtees with 243 points. Roberto Busnell is second for Italy with 222 points. Tony Maggs has 213 points for South Africa. Richie Ginster bottom of the board with 210 points. Going over to race number 13, we go to France. Tony Maggs wins for South Africa. Richie Ginster second for the United States. Roberto Busnell is third for Italy. And John Surtees is bottom of the board in 4th. Race number 14, we go to Pikes Peak. Richie Ginster wins for the United States with John Surtees in second. Roberto Busnell third for Italy, and Tony Maggs is bottom of the board in 4th. Going to the penultimate race of Group A, we go to the 12 hours Reims at Reims. John Surtees wins yet again with Roberto Busnell in second for Italy. Richie Ginster third for the United States, and Tony Maggs is bottom of the board in 4th. And for the 16th and final race, we go to the United Kingdom, and John Surtees wins another race with Richie Ginster second for the United States, Roberto Busnell third for Italy, and Tony Maggs is bottom of the board in 4th. And the winner of Group A, it is John Surtees with 326 points. Richie Ginster second for the United States with 291 points. Roberto Busnell is third for Italy with 290 points. And Tony Maggs is bottom of Group A with 237 points. So we're not much to show you, but we'll go over to the overall standings and see where everything stacks up before we head over to Group B. Looking at the overall standings after Group A, and as usual, it's a direct reflection of Group A. John Surtees getting a good lead right off the bat with the defending champion at 291 points, which is only one more than Roberto Busnell in third for Italy, with Tony Maggs right at the rear. And the nations competition, the United Kingdom with a good lead over the United States, but it's still all to play for as we move over to Group B. And here we go, we move swiftly over to Group B, and without further ado, let's get into the first race of South Africa, which is going to be won by Doug Sewer in his home race, with Dan Gurley taking second for the United States. Third is Giancarlo Baghetti of Italy, and Graham Hill is bottom of the board in 4th. Going into race number 2, we head to the 2,000 kilometers of Daytona. Graham Hill takes the win for the United Kingdom. Dan Gurley is in second, with Doug Sewer in third. Giancarlo Baghetti bottom of the board in 4th. And going on to race number 3, we head to the 12 hours Sebring, and Dan Gurley wins for the United States. Second is Graham Hill for the United Kingdom. Giancarlo Baghetti third for Italy. Doug Sewer is bottom of the board in 4th. And to complete the first quarter of Group B, we go to the 1,000 kilometers of Monza. Graham Hill takes the win for the United Kingdom. Dan Gurley second for the United States. Third is Giancarlo Baghetti of Italy. Doug Sewer bottom of the board in 4th. 4 races in, and lead the way is Dan Gurley with 85 points, with Graham Hill second with 83 points. Doug Sewer third for South Africa with 67 points. Giancarlo Baghetti bottom of the board with 61 points for Italy. Race number 5, we go to the Tourist Trophy at Oulton Park. Graham Hill wins for the United Kingdom. Doug Sewer second for South Africa. Dan Gurley third for the United States, and Giancarlo Baghetti bottom of the board in 4th. Race number 6, we go to the Targa Florio. Graham Hill wins yet again with Dan Gurley second for the United States. Giancarlo Baghetti is third for Italy, and Doug Sewer rounds off the board in 4th. Race number 7, we go to the 500 kilometers of Spa-Francorchamps, and Doug Sewer wins for South Africa with Graham Hill in second, Dan Gurley is third, and Giancarlo Baghetti is 4th. And to complete the first half of Group B, we move over to the 1,000 kilometers of the Nürburgring. Dan Gurley wins for the United States, Graham Hill is second for the United Kingdom, third is Doug Sewer of South Africa, and Giancarlo Baghetti rounds off the board in 4th. So we're halfway to Group B, and leading the way is Graham Hill for the United Kingdom with 133 points. Dan Gurley is second with 162 points. Doug Sewer is third with 141 points. And Giancarlo Baghetti bottom of the board for Italy with 116 points. Going into race number 9, we go to Monaco, and Dan Gurley wins for the United States. Giancarlo Baghetti second for Italy. Third is Doug Sewer of South Africa, and Graham Hill rounds off the board in 4th. Race number 10, we go to the Indy 500. Dan Gurley takes another win with Doug Sewer in second for South Africa, Giancarlo Baghetti third for Italy, and Graham Hill rounds off the board in 4th. Race number 11, we go to Belgium, and Dan Gurley wins for the United States with Graham Hill in second, Doug Sewer in third, and Giancarlo Baghetti bottom of the board in 4th. And to complete the third quarter of Group B, we go to the 24 hours Le Mans, and it's Graham Hill that takes the win for the United Kingdom. Giancarlo Baghetti second for Italy. Third is Doug Sewer of South Africa, and Dan Gurley is bottom of the board in 4th. So with 4 races left to go, leading the way it is Dan Gurley with 250 points. Graham Hill is second with 244 points for the United Kingdom. Doug Sewer is third for South Africa with 209 points, and Giancarlo Baghetti is bottom of the board with 185 points. Going over to race number 13, we go to France at the Charade Circuit, and Graham Hill wins for the United Kingdom. Dan Gurley is second for the United States. Giancarlo Baghetti third for Italy. Doug Sewer fourth for South Africa. Race number 14, we go to Pikes Peak, and Graham Hill takes another win with Dan Gurney second for the United States, third Giancarlo Baghetti and Doug Stewart bottom of the board. And going to the penultimate race, we go to 12 hours Ream at Ream Show. Dan Gurney wins for the United States, second is Graham Hill for the United Kingdom, third is Giancarlo Baghetti and Doug Stewart is bottom of the board in fourth. And for the 16th and final race, we go to the United Kingdom. Graham Hill wins for his home race. Dan Gurney second for the United States. Third is Doug Stewart of South Africa. Giancarlo Baghetti bottom of the board in fourth. And the winner of Group B, it is Graham Hill with 339 points. Only 4 points separating him and Dan Gurney in second with 335 points. In third is Doug Stewart of South Africa with 264 points. And bottom of Group B is Giancarlo Baghetti of Italy with 246 points. So 2 groups down, 2 to go. Let's take a look at the overall standings before we head over to Group C. With 2 groups down and 2 left to go, Graham Hill now takes the lead by only 4 points over Dan Gurney in second, as John Surtees holds on to third with Richie Ginther down in fourth. In the nations competition, the United Kingdom do lead the way with 665 points, which is nearly 40 more than the United States sitting second, as South Africa and Italy switch positions for third. And without further ado, let's now move over to Group C. And here we go, it's on to Group C for the 1965 World Cup, and without further ado, let's get into the first race in South Africa, which is going to be won by Lorenzo Bandini of Italy, with Jackie Stewart second for the United Kingdom, third is Mario Andretti of the United States, and Trevor Blodgett in his home race is bottom of the board. Going into race number 2, we head to the 2,000 kilometers of Daytona. Jackie Stewart takes the win for the United Kingdom, Trevor Blodgett second for South Africa, Mario Andretti third for the United States, and Lorenzo Bandini is bottom of the board in fourth. Race number 3, we go to the 12 hours Sebring. Trevor Blodgett wins for South Africa, Lorenzo Bandini second for Italy, Jackie Stewart is third for the United Kingdom, and Mario Andretti is bottom of the board in fourth. And to complete the first core of Group C, we go to the 1,000 kilometers of Monza. Jackie Stewart wins for the United Kingdom, Lorenzo Bandini second for Italy, third is Trevor Blodgett of South Africa, and Mario Andretti bottom of the board for the United States in fourth. So 4 races into Group C, and leading the way is Jackie Stewart with 86 points. Lorenzo Bandini second with 38 points for Italy. Trevor Blodgett third for South Africa with 34 points. Mario Andretti bottom of the board for the United States with 58 points. Race number 5, we go to the Tourist Trophy. Mario Andretti wins for the United States. Second is Jackie Stewart of the United Kingdom. Trevor Blodgett is third for South Africa, and Lorenzo Bandini is bottom of the board in fourth. Race number 6, we go to the Targa Florio, and Jackie Stewart wins for the United Kingdom with Trevor Blodgett second for South Africa. Third is Mario Andretti of the United States, and Lorenzo Bandini is bottom of the board in fourth. Race number 7, we go to the 500 kilometers of the Spa-Francorchamps, and it's Jackie Stewart takes the win for the United Kingdom. Trevor Blodgett second for South Africa, Lorenzo Bandini third for Italy, and Mario Andretti bottom of the board in fourth. And to complete the first half of Group C, we go to the 1,000 kilometers of the Nürburgring. Jackie Stewart wins for the United Kingdom with Trevor Blodgett in second for South Africa. Third is Mario Andretti of the United States, and Lorenzo Bandini is bottom of the board in fourth. So we're halfway into Group C, and leading the way is Jackie Stewart with 181 points. Trevor Blodgett is second for South Africa with 150 points. Third is Lorenzo Bandini with 133 points for Italy. Mario Andretti for the United States is bottom of the board in fourth with 128 points. Going over to race number 9, we go to Monaco. Lorenzo Bandini takes the win for Italy. Jackie Stewart is second for the United Kingdom. Third is Mario Andretti of the United States, and Trevor Blodgett is bottom of the board in fourth. Race number 10, we go to the Indy 500. Jackie Stewart takes yet another win with Lorenzo Bandini second for Italy. Third is Mario Andretti of the United States, and Trevor Blodgett rounds off the board in fourth. Race number 11, we go to Belgium, and it's Lorenzo Bandini takes the win for Italy. Mario Andretti second for the United States. Third is Jackie Stewart of the United Kingdom, and Trevor Blodgett is bottom of the board in fourth for South Africa. To complete the third quarter of Group C, we go to the 24 Hours Le Mans, and it's yet another win for Jackie Stewart. Lorenzo Bandini second for Italy. Third is Mario Andretti of the United States, and Trevor Blodgett is bottom of the board in fourth. So we've got 4 races left to go, and leading the way it's Jackie Stewart with 267 points, with Lorenzo Bandini second for Italy with 223 points. Trevor Blodgett is third for South Africa with 202 points. Mario Andretti bottom of the board for the United States with 196 points. Going to race number 13, we go to France, and Jackie Stewart once again takes another win with Lorenzo Bandini second for Italy. Trevor Blodgett is third for South Africa, and Mario Andretti is bottom of the board in fourth for the United States. Race number 14, we go to Pikes Peak. Jackie Stewart wins for the United Kingdom with Mario Andretti second for the United States. Trevor Blodgett third for South Africa, and Lorenzo Bandini is bottom of the board in fourth. Race number 15, we go the 12-hour Reims show, and Jackie Stewart, for the 10th time in this group, has won the race, with Lorenzo Bandini third for Italy, Mario Andretti third for the United States, and Trevor Blonick rounds the board in fourth. And for the 16th final race we go to the United Kingdom, and Jackie Stewart wins yet again. Trevor Blonick second for South Africa, Mario Andretti third for the United States, and Lorenzo Bandini is bottom of the board for Italy in fourth. And the winner of Group C, it is Jackie Stewart with 367 points. Lorenzo Bandini second for Italy with 289 points. Third is Trevor Blonick of South Africa with 267 points. And bottom of the group is Mario Andretti of the United States with 261 points. So with just one group left to go, let's take a look at the overall standings before we head over to Group D. With just one group left to go, it is Jackie Stewart that now takes the lead with 367 points, which is nearly 30 more than Graham Hill in second, with Dan Gurley still hanging on to third for the United States. And in the nations competition, the United Kingdom having a big gap over the rest of the teams, with the United States hanging on to second, as Italy just barely hang on to third over South Africa. With one group left to go, let's now head over to Group D. And here we go, it's the fourth and final group, Group D, and without further ado, let's get to the first race in South Africa, and that's going to be won by Pierre de Klerk in his home race, with AJ Foyt sixth for the United States. Third is Nino Vassarella of Italy, and Jim Clark bottom of the board in fourth. Race number 2, we go to the 2,000 kilometers of Daytona. Jim Clark wins for the United Kingdom, with AJ Foyt sixth for the United States. Third is Pierre de Klerk of South Africa, and Nino Vassarella bottom of the board for Italy in fourth. Race number 3, we go to the 12-hour Sebring, and Jim Clark takes the lead for the United Kingdom, with AJ Foyt second for the United States. Third is Nino Vassarella of Italy, and Pierre de Klerk rounds up the board in fourth. As we play the first quarter of Group D, we head to the 1,000 kilometers of Monza. Pierre de Klerk wins for South Africa, Nino Vassarella seventh for Italy. Third is Jim Clark of the United Kingdom, and AJ Foyt bottom of the board in fourth. 4 races end, and leading the way it is Pierre de Klerk of South Africa and Jim Clark tying with 79 points each. AJ Foyt second for the United States with 73 points, and Nino Vassarella bottom of the board for Italy with 65 points. Going over to race number 5, we go to the Tourist Trophy, and Jim Clark wins for the United Kingdom, with Nino Vassarella second for Italy. AJ Foyt is third for the United States, and Pierre de Klerk rounds the board in fourth for South Africa. Race number 6, we go to the Targa Florio. AJ Foyt wins for the United States, with Jim Clark second for the United Kingdom, Pierre de Klerk third for South Africa, and Nino Vassarella rounds the board in fourth. Race number 7, we go to the 500 kilometers of Spa-Francorchamps. AJ Foyt takes another win for the United States, with Jim Clark in second for the United Kingdom, Nino Vassarella third for Italy, and Pierre de Klerk rounds the board in fourth. And to complete the first half of Group D, we go to the 1,000 kilometers of the Nürburgring. Jim Clark wins for the United Kingdom, with Nino Vassarella second for Italy. Third is AJ Foyt for the United States, and Pierre de Klerk rounds the board for South Africa in fourth. Halfway to Group D, leading the way is Jim Clark with 169 points, with AJ Foyt second for the United States with 155 points, while Pierre de Klerk and Nino Vassarella for South Africa and Italy tie with 134 points each. Going over to race number 9, we go to Monaco. Jim Clark takes another win, with AJ Foyt second for the United States, Nino Vassarella third for Italy, and Pierre de Klerk rounds the board for South Africa in fourth. Race number 10, we go to the Indy 500. Nino Vassarella wins for Italy, Pierre de Klerk second for South Africa, AJ Foyt third for the United States, and Jim Clark is bottom of the board in fourth. Race number 11, we go to Belgium. Jim Clark takes another victory, with AJ Foyt second for the United States, as Nino Vassarella third for Italy, and Pierre de Klerk rounds the board in fourth. And to complete the third quarter of Group D, we go to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and Jim Clark wins for the United Kingdom, as Pierre de Klerk is second for South Africa, AJ Foyt third for the United States, and Nino Vassarella bottom of the board in fourth. And with 4 races left to go, leading the way is Jim Clark with 257 points, as AJ Foyt is second with 227 points. Third is Nino Vassarella of Italy with 204 points, and Pierre de Klerk is bottom of the board for South Africa with 200 points. Going over to race number 13, we go to France. Pierre de Klerk wins in South Africa, Nino Vassarella second for Italy, AJ Foyt is third for the United States, and Jim Clark is bottom of the board in fourth. Race number 14, we go to Pikes Peak. AJ Foyt wins for the United States, Pierre de Klerk is second for South Africa, Nino Vassarella is third for Italy, and Jim Clark is bottom of the board for the United Kingdom in fourth. Going to the penultimate race at the 12 Hours Reims show, Jim Clark wins for the United Kingdom, as Nino Vassarella is second for Italy, AJ Foyt is third for the United States, and Pierre de Klerk is bottom of the board for South Africa in fourth. And for the 16th final race, we go to the United Kingdom. Jim Clark wins his whole race. Peter Clark third for South Africa. Third is Neil Vassarella of Italy, and AJ Foyt's on the board for the United States. And the winner of Group D, it is Jim Clark with 333 points. AJ Foyt is second for the United States with 297 points. Third is Pierre de Klerk of South Africa with 278 points. Neil Vassarella bottom of the board for Italy with 236 points. So that is now all 4 groups out of the way. Let's take a look at the overall standings before we head over to our 1965 World Cup final. With all 4 groups completed, looking at the championship standings going into the final, Jackie Stewart is the number 1 driver with 367 points. Graham Hill is second with 339 points. Dan Gurley third with 335. Fourth is Jim Clark with 333. And John Surtees rounds off the top 5 positions with 326 points. So all 4 Brits are in the top 5 positions, with the United Kingdom just under 200 points ahead of the United States going to the final, with Italy third and South Africa bringing up the rear. How will things change up? Well, without further ado, let's get into the 1965 World Cup final. And here we go, it is now the 1965 World Cup final, and because it's only 4 teams, that means all the drivers are in the final because there's only 16 of them. They're taking 16 of the 36 spots to go into the final. So let's take a look at the drivers before we head over. So first up with Italy, their 4 drivers are 8th, 9th, 12th and 16th going into this final. With the next team being South Africa, their drivers are 10th, 11th, 13th and 14th going into the final. With the United Kingdom, their drivers are 1st, 2nd, 4th and 5th going into the final. And for the United States, they're going to the final numbers 3, 6, 7 and 15. So without further ado, let's get to the first race in South Africa, and it's going to be won by John Surtees, with Jim Clark taking 2nd, Tony Banks' home race is 3rd, 4th is Mario Andretti, Richie Ginter is 5th, Dan Gurley is 6th, Doug Stewart is 7th, 8th is Pierre de Klerk, 9th is Roberto Bussanello, and AJ Foyt rounds in the top 10 as Jackie Stewart finishes 16th, Bandy 15th, and Graham Hill in 14th. Race number 2. We head to the 2,000 kilometers at Daytona. Dan Gurney takes the race win with Graham Hill in 2nd. Neil Vassarella is 3rd for Italy. AJ Foyt is 4th. 5th is Mario Andretti. 6th is Richie Ginter. 7th is Giancarlo Baghetti. Trevor Blodgett is 8th. 9th is Jackie Stewart. And Pierre de Klerk rounds off your top 10 as we have John Surtees 15th, Jim Clark 14th. Roberto Bussanella is 12th. And Lorenzo Bandy is 11th. Race number 3, we head to the 12-hour Sebring, and it's another win for Dan Gurney as Graham Hill is 2nd, Doug Stewart is 3rd for South Africa, Tony Banks is 4th, 5th is Jackie Stewart, 6th is Richie Ginter, 7th is AJ Foyt, 8th is Jim Clark, Mario Andretti 9th, and Neil Vassarella rounds off your top 10 as we have Pierre de Klerk in 16th, Lorenzo Bandy 14th, 13th is John Surtees, and Roberto Bussanello rounds off the top 10 ranked drivers out of the top 10, who finished in 11th. And to complete the first quarter of this final, we head to the 1,000 kilometers at Monza, and Dan Gurney takes yet another win with Graham Hill 2nd for the United Kingdom, Doug Stewart 3rd for South Africa, 4th is Mario Andretti, John Surtees 5th, 6th is Jackie Stewart, 7th is AJ Foyt, 8th is Neil Vassarella, Lorenzo Bandy 9th, and Roberto Bussanello rounds up the top 10. Jim Clark is 16th, Pierre de Klerk is 13th, and Richie Ginter in 12th. So 4 races down, 12 to go. Lead the way it is Dan Gurney with 85 points, with Graham Hill in 2nd with 62. 3rd is Mario Andretti with 44. Doug Stewart is 4th with 41 points, which is one more John Surtees in 5th with 40 points. As Trevor Blodgett for South Africa is bottom of the board with 14 points. Going on to race number 5, we head to the Tourist Trophy at Oulton Park. Jim Clark takes the win for the United Kingdom. Dan Gurney is 2nd for the United States. John Surtees is 3rd. Graham Hill is 4th. 5th is AJ Foyt. 6th is Richie Ginter. 7th is Jackie Stewart. Roberto Bussanello is 8th. 9th is Giancarlo Baghetti. And Lorenzo Bandy runs to the top 10. As we've got the only driver, top 10 ranked drivers outside the top 10 in this race is Pierre de Klerk in 13th. Wow, I'm starting to speak. I'm so excited in this final. Race number 6, we head to the Targa Florio. And John Surtees wins for the United Kingdom. Jackie Stewart is 2nd. 3rd is Graham Hill, so it's an all British podium. Pierre de Klerk is 4th. Roberto Bussanello 5th. Trevor Blodgett is 6th. 7th is AJ Foyt. Giancarlo Baghetti 8th. 9th is Tony Meggs. And Dan Gurney rounds off your top 10. As Richie Ginter is last in 16th. Jim Clark is 14th. And Lorenzo Bandy in 11th. Race number 7, we head to the 500 kilometers of the Spa-Francorchamps, and Jim Clark takes another win with Trevor Blodgett second for South Africa, Tony Max is third, Peter de Klerk fourth, Giancarlo Baghetti 5th, 6th is Richard Ginter, Graham Hill 7th, Mario Andretti 8th, Jackie Stewart 9th, and John 30th rounds up the top 10, as we've got Lorenzo Bandini 16th, AJ Foyt 15th, Roberto Bustinello 13th, Dan Gurney in 12th. And to complete the first half of this final, we head to the 1,000 kilometers of the Nürburgring. Dan Gurney takes the win for the United States with Graham Hill in second, Jim Clark is third, Jackie Stewart is fourth, Roberto Bustinello is fifth, sixth is Giancarlo Baghetti, seventh is John 30th, eighth Doug Sewer, Mario Andretti 9th, and Peter de Klerk rounds up the top 10, as we've got AJ Foyt last in 16th, Lorenzo Bandini 12th, and Richie Ginter in 11th. So we're halfway into this final. Leading the way, it is still Dan Gurney with 140 points. Graham Hill is second with 120 points. Third is Jim Clark with 98 points. John 30th is fourth with 96 points. And driving the top 5 is Jackie Stewart with 77 points. So Lorenzo Bandini is now the driver in last with 30 points. Going over to race number 9, we head to Monaco. Jackie Stewart takes the win for the United Kingdom, with Graham Hill second and John 30th third to make it an all-British podium again. Dan Gurney is fourth, Jim Clark is fifth, sixth is AJ Foyt, Roberto Bustinello seventh, Mario Andretti eighth, Giancarlo Baghetti ninth, and Trevor Blodgett rounds off the top 10. As we've got Lorenzo Bandini 15th, Richie Ginter 13th, and Peter de Klerk in 11th. Race number 10, we head to the Indy 500. Doug Sewer takes the win for South Africa. Richie Ginter is second for the United States. Jackie Stewart is third, with Trevor Blodgett fourth. John 30th is fifth. Sixth is Tony Max. Mario Andretti seventh. Eighth is Jim Clark. Dan Gurney ninth. And Neil Vassara rounds off the top 10. As we've got Lorenzo Bandini in last and 16th. Peter de Klerk 15th. AJ Foyt 14th. Roberto Bustinello 13th. And Graham Hill in 12th. Race number 11, we go to Belgium. And Dan Gurney takes yet another win with Graham Hill in second, Lorenzo Bandini third for Italy, fourth is John 30th, Doug Sewer for South Africa is fifth, Mario Andretti sixth, Trevor Blodgett for South Africa is seventh, Roberto Bustinello eighth for Italy, Neil Vassara ninth, and Jackie Stewart rounds up the top 10 for the United Kingdom, as AJ Foyt is 15th, Peter de Klerk 14th, Jim Clark 12th, and Richie Ginter 11th. And to complete the third quarter of this final, we go to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and Jackie Stewart takes the win with John 30th in second, Dan Gurney is third, Trevor Blodgett is fourth for South Africa, Graham Hill is fifth, Jim Clark is sixth, Neil Vassara is seventh, Tony Max is eighth, ninth is Peter de Klerk, and Doug Sewer rounds off the top 10 for South Africa. Roberto Bustinello is 15th, Richie Ginter 14th, Lorenzo Bandini 13th, and AJ Foyt for the United States is 12th. With 4 races left to go, it is Dan Gurney still leading the way with 201 points. Graham Hill is second with 175 points. Third is John 30th with 156 points. Jackie Stewart is fourth with 149 points. And Jim Clark rounds up the top 5 with 131 points. As bottom of the board is Lorenzo Bandini of Italy with 50 points. Going over to race number 13, we go to France with Dan Gurney taking yet another victory with Jim Clark in second. Third is Graham Hill. Jackie Stewart is fourth. John 30th is 5th, Peter de Klerk is 6th, Richie Ginter is 3rd, 8th is AJ Foyt, Roberto Bustinello 9th, and Lorenzo Bandini rounds off the top 10. And going over to race number 14, we go to Pikes Peak, and Jim Clark takes the win for the United Kingdom with John 30th in 2nd, Dan Gurney 3rd, 4th is Jackie Stewart, 5th is Graham Hill, 6th is Roberto Bustinello with Mario Andretti 7th, Neil Vassara 8th, Richie Ginter 9th, and Peter de Klerk rounds off the top 10, as we've got AJ Foyt in 13th and Lorenzo Bandini in 11th. Going to the penultimate race, race number 15. It is the 12 Hours of Reims at Reims-Jouy, and Giancarlo Baghetti takes the win for Italy with Dan Gurney second, Graham Hill third for the United Kingdom, fourth is Lorenzo Bandini, AJ Foyt is fifth, John 36th, Roberto Bustinello seventh, eighth is Jackie Stewart, Doug Sewer ninth, and Peter de Klerk rounds off the top 10 as Jim Clark finishes 15th and Richie Ginter in 14th. And for the 16th and final race of this final, it is the United Kingdom Silverstone, and Lorenzo Bandini takes the win for Italy. Jim Clark is second, Graham Hill is third, fourth is John 30th, Dan Gurney fifth, Neil Vassara is sixth, AJ Foyt is seventh, Peter de Klerk is eighth, ninth is Giancarlo Baghetti, and Roberto Bustinello rounds off the top 10 as Richie Ginter finishes 13th and Jackie Stewart in 11th. And the driver with the most amount of points in this final, it is Dan Gurney with 273 points. Graham Hill is second with 234 points. Third is John 30th with 210 points. In fourth is Jim Clark with 197 points. 5th is Jackie Stewart with 188 points. And tying for 6th is Doug Sewer and Mary Jetty of South Africa and the United States with 116 points each. 8th is Richie Gibbs with 111 points for the United States. 9th is Roberta Busnell with 108 points. And throughout the top 10 is AJ Foyt for the United States with 106 points. Jacob Baghetti is 11th, 103 points, followed by Lorenzo Badie with 99 points, which is one more than Tony Maggs of South Africa with 98. Pierre de Klerk of South Africa has 97 points. Cher Blood of South Africa has 95 points. And bottom of the board is Nino Vassarel of Italy with 89 points. So with those points out of the way, it's finally time to see who is the individual and the nation's champions. Despite the Brits' dominance in the group stages, Dan Gurney has come out top and he is the 1965 individual champion with 608 points, with Graham Hill finishing in second with 573. Jackie Stewart was the number one driver but he drops down to third with 555 points. John Surtees takes fourth with 536 and Jim Clark rests the top 5 with 530 points, so all 4 Brits did manage to stay in the top 5 positions after the final, which has helped the United Kingdom absolutely dominate in the nation's competition with 2,194 points, nearly 400 more than the United States in second. Italy finished in third with 1,500 points, which is only 8 more than South Africa, bringing up the rear. And with the first half of the 1960s out of the way, it's time to look at our Formula World Cup Hall of Fame. And as you can see, the United Kingdom in the Nations competitions have won 4 Nations Championships in a row, with the United States winning one in 1961. We've had 5 different champions, but they've both all been from either the United States or from the United Kingdom. With the second half of the 60s coming up, will it be just another spell of British and American dominance, or will another team or another driver from a different nation come flying in to take a title? Without further ado, we will see ourselves into the second period of the 1960s, and I hope to see you over there.